Hey, I'm Ian Bremmer, and I'm here with my friend Charlie Rose.
Charlie Rose.
This is his shop.
And he's a frequent guest at this table, and we're a better program because of that. And we often do this, in which we take advantage of the opportunity to go around the world.
Which we just did.
Which we just did. But let me just talk about China, come back to China, because I'm fascinated by it. Because the idea of the U.S. imposing sanctions because of what they thought was a legitimate grievance about the invasion of private companies and the U.S. government in terms of what had taken place, it is an issue that the president seems to have finally have to say, we got to do something about this. We cannot tolerate this anymore. So we got to find some common ground, not only on that, but also on the question of what might be done to infrastructure, the grid, the electric grid, and things like that.
This has been tougher, there's no question. And it's interesting that Obama came out and said, hey, we're thinking about putting sanctions on you guys before you show up. And then, of course, it's like, well, actually,
we may not show up.
We'll wait. We may not show up. That's a tough one. I mean, between we may not show up and we're going to organize a summit with all your CEOs, it was hard for Obama to get anything done just in advance of it. But I'm not sure that this is fixed in any way, shape, or form.
There's still a lot of work to be done, an agreement to find, and the common ground is not yet there.
Yeah. I mean, look, when you talk to CEOs these days, I mean, how many of them are saying that China's getting easier to work with?
How many?
Yeah.
Well, you answer the question. How many?
Not many.
Not many. It's more difficult.
Yeah. It's getting frustrating.
So what's the future of the Chinese economy, the growth, the markets, the idea of China trying to create a domestic demand model?
Look, I think that the desire of the Chinese to move away from fixed investment towards the consumer is both the most exciting thing they're doing and also the most dangerous. I mean, on the one hand, it's one of the reasons why Brazil is facing the economic turmoil they are, because the Chinese aren't buying. Australia is about to enter into the first recession in 24 years because the Chinese aren't buying. Huge change as China's about to become the largest economy in the world. And that's,
people keep saying that. When is that going to happen?
Well, if you look at purchasing power parity, it's already happened according to the FT last year. If you look at sort of the way we tend to quantify GDP, it's in the next 8 to 10 years. But either way, you look at how our markets, how the volatility of our markets, and the decision of Janet Yellen not to move on rates because of China, in part.
Was that among the CEOs the right decision?
No, they all said it was wrong.
They did not want her to. They wanted her to increase interest rates.
I was with John Thain for lunch today, and he said that he thought that they really missed an opportunity, and now that when they eventually do it, because they will eventually do it, the situation in China wouldn't have changed, and they're just going to look weak. So he doesn't like that. He thinks
does he think she will revisit it before December?
Yeah. And I asked him specifically that question. He said either October or December that they're going to have to move. And it's precisely because of that if you know you're going to have to, and if China's going to look just as questionable, then why not move when you need to move?
And what else can the Fed do other than raise interest rates?
Well, that's the Fed's primary tool. I mean, they can talk it, of course. They talk it a lot, and they talk about how the American economy is doing and what its trajectory is going to be. But at the end of the day, everyone was waiting on this move, and the market had completely priced it in. It's kind of interesting.
How do you think the president is viewed now around the world after the Iran negotiating deal, after some other developments? His move to Cuba have certainly pleased people in Latin America.
Yeah, I think that's
the Iranian deal appealed to a lot of people, the Russians and the Europeans.
Yeah, so I just looked at some research from Pew, and it was interesting that with the exception of the Middle East, the Americans are perceived more favorably than the Chinese in every region of the world. And even in Africa, where the Chinese are investing all this money and the Chinese are generally perceived favorably, the Americans still have a 10% increase. There's no question that a lot of allies, I think, are more concerned about how committed the United States is to them. But Obama's had a pretty good 6 months. He had Cuba
pretty
done.
Good.
He had the Iran deal
Better than
done.
Pretty good.
Well, I mean, I wish I could say it was great, because I worry about the Syria-Russia issue in particular. But I mean, on balance, given where he was a year ago.
So what worries you about the Syrian-Russia issue?
The fact that the United States is enormously concerned about ISIS, but doesn't have a strategy for dealing with it. We're saying ISIS must be destroyed.
And so he's moving into the vacuum, as some have suggested.
He's moving into the vacuum.
Saying, let me create a coalition.
And the Americans are going to get...
Including the Iranians.
The Americans.
And all other neighbors, he said.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So I worry about that. But on balance, I mean, if you were giving Obama really poor marks on foreign policy 6 months ago, Now it's a mixed bag, and that's not a bad place to be. The trajectory is more favorable. I still think the most important win he made, though, was in Asia. It was that big trade deal. Getting Congress. For me, that's the biggest deal.
And the business community loved it.
They loved it. Now if we could only get Congress to move on IMF and Exim Bank and everyone else. Charlie, thanks a lot.
It's great to have you at the table and to be on Facebook with you. What a thrill it is for me.
A thrill. I don't believe you, but it's still great to see you. Thanks, Charlie.
It is. Thank you.
See you soon. Yeah.
All right.